Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
In good times and in bad, don't let them fool you. Friendship is never easy. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and talk about not only current projects, but influences, state of the industry, anything else we can really think of in a very light and sort of conversational fashion as best we can. And we have fun with it, and we hope you do too. And if you'd like to keep having fun with it, you should subscribe to us. And we'd love it if you did, over on Apple, over on Spotify, and you can find every single one of our episodes if you'd like to catch up or if you missed something, over at YouTube, on our YouTube channel, In Seats. If you'd like to follow us on social media, that'd be great too. You can do that over at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And finally, and probably most importantly, if you wouldn't mind, please go check us out over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, where our hardworking team is giving you movie news, reviews, interviews, and well, all sorts of fun stuff. Because that's what we do. And speaking of people who give you fun stuff, that was a terrible segue, but we want to talk to you a little bit about our friends over at Bay Street Video, who are still open right now during lockdown, and they're doing curbside service, and they're even shipping to anywhere you need to go for any sort of DVD or Blu-ray needs that you may have. And they're at 1172 Bay Street here in Toronto, Ontario. You can give them a call at 416-964-9088. Or you can give them an email at baystreetvideoto, all one word, at gmail.com for any requests that you might have. And this is a better segue, I would say, because on today's episode, we are actually talking about something that is out on DVD and Blu-ray today, and that film is called The Climb, which had a great little festival run and is inspired by a short film, and it's just episodes from a friendship between two men, and just sort of the ups and the downs, and mostly downs, and a few of the dark downs, and it's really a sardonic and just sort of fantastic look at friendship, which is hilarious as hell. It kind of reminds me of imagine a Bergman film, but with much more of a comedic sensibility, as it were. And it's from director Angelo Corvino, who also co-wrote it with Kyle Marvin, and both those men are actually the stars of this film as well. And like I said, it is out on DVD and Blu-ray today from our friends over at Sony Pictures Classics, and you can find it on various video-on-demand services and whatnot. But we got to sit down with both these guys and talk to them a little bit about the movie, how it started from a short to this, and just sort of what got them into the business in general. And it was a nice talk with those guys. They were a lot of fun, and we hope you have fun with this one too. All right, well, obviously, first off, guys, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, congratulations on the film. I loved it. I mean, for me, I think it felt like Bergman, but instead of scenes from a marriage, it was scenes from a shitty friendship.
Well, that was one of our temp titles that we were contemplating. Scenes from a shitty friendship.
Walk me through, like, not only the inspiration for the story, but why you decided to push it from a short to a feature.
Well, I think the inspiration came from a friend and an ex of mine that had slept together a night, and I was sort of contemplating the meaning of that, and why I might be remotely upset about it, and what the significance of that is. And out of that came this really funny idea for revealing this information on a bike ride, because I tend to take bike rides to clear my head, and I think we always thought of it a bit, obviously it was a short film in its own right, and it could live as that, but we always thought of it as a relationship that we wanted to explore further. So it was a natural fit for a feature, just in developing out and seeing, like, we know these guys are always going to stay friends with each other. What else can, how far can we push it over a long period of time? Sorry, the heater in our office is making a lot of noise.
Oh, no
It
worries.
just kept getting louder and louder. Oh my God. I was trying to stay focused, but I was like, wait a second, what is that? Hopefully you can hear us though.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I can barely hear it, so you're good on that front. Now, I mean,
Okay.
when you're putting together the scenarios, because obviously the bike ride is classic, and I love the long shots just with keeping on the two of you guys, but I'm kind of curious, when you're fleshing out the scenarios, how much of it is sort of on the script, or how much of it is going to be sort of in the moment? Because on one end, it does feel very scripted, but at the other end, there is a very sort of a kinetic back and forth between the two of you in terms of banter. And I'm kind of curious, how did you sort of balance the two?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, in this case, it was extremely scripted. And we rehearsed it a lot. And during the writing process, we certainly bantered, in terms of like feeling it out or testing where we could put the script. But I think in the end, we had to be extremely scripted just because of the nature of long takes. And the fact that everyone had to be coordinated and everyone had to kind of keep tabs on where the camera was going to be or sound. Everyone was taking cues off of dialogue for the most part. So I think we had to, in the end, the improvisation came in really responding to the X factors, like all the other unknowns which came up during a single take. But for the most part, it was pretty well scripted and laid out. When we were going into the
yeah, it was probably the least improvised thing we've ever done, I would say.
Yeah, but I think for that shorthand and banter, that was mostly us just workshopping it,
right?
And really kind of finding the rhythms that we found most interesting, and then relaxing into them so they just felt as natural as could be.
Well, and I mean, I think that's what I mean. Like, it's those rhythms that really kind of stand out. And I mean, I was struck, especially with the use of the longer takes, just in terms of how you let those rhythms have sort of moments to breathe. And it felt very, on one end, like I said before, almost Bergman-esque, but at the same time, this is such sort of deadpan, borderline uncomfortable comedy that it really makes for such an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, I mean, I think, situationally, it's certainly, I mean, we're obviously inspired by Scenes from a Marriage and Bergman, and putting people in a room together and letting them talk about what's going on between them. But I think we were always skewing in the direction of finding the comedy in that, even if the characters were experiencing it in earnest and they were struggling with the emotions and the upset and the frustration or whatever else they were experiencing. We always knew that there was a lot of room in there to find just moments to let humor into the mix to let us laugh at the absurdity of the whole thing. And that's really what was exciting from us from the beginning, because, in tension, you can really find some of the most amazing comedic moments. And, whether that be by introducing some sort of physical element or a slapstick, a fall into a table or something like that, or just by the silence and awkwardness that you can create.
It's funny, in real life, the things that I think we laugh at a lot of time isn't when like two people are bantering and saying like really tight, quippy, snappy jokes. Yeah. Most of the things I find incredibly hilarious tend to be slow or uncomfortable. The things where I'm sitting around with my family and something happens, it tends to be more like slow paced and awkward, more so than like, this comedy that we see in big blockbuster comedies sometimes, where it's just like he tells a joke, she tells a joke, he says something snarky. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I mean, how much of it do you sort of center around, I guess, maybe your own relationship? Because, I mean, in many ways, the film feels very natural, but turned up to 11 at the same time in terms of its snarkiness and sort of the deadpan nature of the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle and I have a pretty healthy relationship. We've been working together for a while. We've been friends for a long time, and we've also been working together and figuring out how to balance that. So I think that was really the foundation that allowed us to feel comfortable making the film together. So I would say it's like less based on anything that we have between each other, and maybe more based on experiences that we have other people or relationships we understand or we've been in proximity to or have been a part of some way or another, and and have found to be like broken in sort of beautiful ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, for you guys, what ultimately sort of got you into this side of the business, I guess? Because in doing my research, I saw you were worked on the production side in Kicks, which I absolutely love. And I'm kind of curious,
Oh,
what was
thanks.
it about this particular story that made you want to be in front of the camera?
Well, I think, I always wanted to be in front of the camera. It's more a question of anyone letting me be in front of the camera. So, I think you kind of have to, when you're trying to act, I think if opportunities aren't presenting themselves, you kind of create your own opportunities. And so, this is like the second film that I personally wrote that I acted in. And I think with this one, I think we at an early stage after the short had premiered, we had an opportunity to talk about if we wanted to cast someone else. And I think Kyle and I both chose to, continue playing the roles. One, because we love acting, because it's fun, because it was a big opportunity. But also, I think we inherently understood the dynamic between these characters, and we didn't want to leave that up to chance. Like, we didn't want to cast people and then find out that, like, oh, they didn't really get the pace we were going for, or the voice we were going for, or the way in which we wanted to play the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, truly we got into the film business to make films. And sometimes, the opportunity that presents itself is for you to make other people's films. And we're sort of the mindset that, from the world of independent cinema, that if someone has a moving film and you can support it, then support it. And so, the early part of our career has come off of helping other people make their movies, and now just happened to be, our time and here we are.
Thinking back to your younger days, is there a moment or a movie that you can sort of pinpoint on that got you started?
Like early when we were young?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I could think of movies that just stick with me my whole life. Like movies like Big and Adventures in Babysitting.
Cool.
And like Jumanji and Twister. And I don't know, like those big blockbusters from the mid 90s really had an impact on me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. Those like foundational, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and just like those ones that I remember watching as a kid that were just so iconic.
All the Farrelly brother movies for me were very like kind of eye-opening in terms of how funny a movie could be and how hard you could get a theater to laugh.
It's an interesting thing. We talk about it a lot in that like, I feel like everybody's film language sort of changes and evolves and morphs over time. And there's something really interesting about that. Like, as a kid, sometimes those, the spectacle ones that really grab you and throw you into a new world and are the ones, that you happen to see because they're rated for your age. And then, your taste sort of swings and evolves in such different ways. Like what I was watching when I was 20 is so much different than what I'm interested in now. But all of it, I think, is beneficial, and all of it has been, has affected me in a positive way.
No, I love that answer. And because, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is something that it has to evolve for people. The more on they watch, the more on they do. And I mean, I love this movie because it's one of those things that, I mean, obviously outside of the festival run right now, it feels like it's coming at a perfect time because we're in this kind of moment where independent cinema will get more of an eyeball on it. And I'm kind of curious from your perspective, what is the ultimate hope for you just as storytellers and filmmakers? Is it just eyes on the product, or is there something sort of grander than that?
Well, I think, it's always like very gratifying to be able to have conversations about something you made and, have people come up to you or, just have conversations with people who responded to it in a really positive way or found a connection to it that maybe, was very deeply ingrained in there, but they picked up on. And that's like on a personal level, really fun and enjoyable. But I think we're all in this just because like we enjoy the process. And, Kyle and I enjoy writing movies. We enjoy the, production. We enjoy working and telling these stories. So I think, the only real thing that we ever hoped for with this is that we would get to make another one. And I think that's all you can ever kind of bank on is like you make your film, you do the best you can, you put it out there and hopefully people like it. And then you move on and you try again. And, there's no telling what, if people might hate our next film. Who knows? But at least, we're going to keep making them as long as people will let us.
I mean, I think the great thing about cinema is that it has the ability to push you into new areas while making you feel good about where you are. Yeah. And I think it's always a fine balance of like, it has to tap and feel real to you and feel honest. But at the same time, it's great to push the edges a little bit. And sometimes, you push too far, but I think that's part of the joy of cinema, is allowing directors to push a little too far and then adjust and try new things, or keep pushing for some directors who continue to push.
I mean, the hope is always to never make a film that everybody likes, right? Like if you make a film that everyone loves, like you did something really, really wrong, I think. Or maybe that's a little bit of an overstatement, but I do think, like, if you're not challenging people, you're not making it uncomfortable, you're not making a film that, like,
tries
we made this film and my character is very reprehensible. I'm sure there's a number of people who watch it and go, no, I'm out. I fucking hate that guy. And I'm like, I get it. I understand how you would feel that way. But, the hope is that, like, the story as a whole allows you to understand that he's coming from a place where maybe we can relate to it. And, that was the challenge for us. Is like, we set out to make films that are, that won't be easy and that scare us. And so, like, this one in a lot of ways scared us when we went into making it, so.
But you know what? That's the magic of it, because I mean, really, like you say, I mean, your character is a dick, but he's a relatable dick, and it's moments that we can sort of exist in and sort of appreciate and laugh at, but still really squirm at the same time. And I think that's sort of the important part of this film, because it runs the gamut of the friendship from one end to the other, and that's a great thing to see on screen. I just want to say thanks again for the time today, guys. This was a lot of fun, and congratulations again on the film.
Thank you. Great talking to you. Yeah,
good talking to you
guys.
Bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.